China, which is the largest government creditor to emerging economies, has said it will forgive 23 interest-free loans from 17 African countries and redirect $10 billion of its International Monetary Fund reserves to nations on the continent. Foreign Minister Wang Yi announced the cancellations in a meeting at the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. There are no details yet as to the value of the loans, which matured at the end of 2021. There are also no details as to the countries that would benefit from this debt forgiveness. The Monetary Authority of Singapore and the Ministry of Trade and Industry says Singapore's key consumer price index rose again in July at its fastest pace in more than 13 years. This puts pressure on the central bank to consider another policy tightening move later this year. The core inflation rate, the central bank's favored price measure, rose to 4.8% in July on a year-on-year basis. European markets are set for a slightly lower open on Tuesday, tracking global sentiment as a fresh surge in European energy prices deepened fears of a recession and sent the euro to 20-year lows. Britain's FTSE 100 is seen around 20 points lower at 7,514 points. Germany's DAX is set to slip around 19 points to 13,212, and France's CAC 40 is expected to shed about 17 points to 6,362. And more numbers for you. Statistics from the UK's Office for National Statistics reveal that Britain recorded its biggest fall in output in more than 300 years in 2020, when it faced the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as a larger decline than any other major economy. In the report, gross domestic product fell by 11% in 2020, according to historical data hosted by the Bank of England. This was a bigger drop than any of the previous estimates and the largest fall since 1709. The ONS revised down the scale of the fall to 9.3%, adjudging it as the largest since just after World War I. Cornwall Insights has forecast that a typical UK household will be paying £3,554 per year for energy bills by October, and the forecast for January's cap is over £4,600 per year for the average household, up from last week's forecast of £4,266 for January. The energy consultancy adds that the households will face an 80% rise in bills going into the winter period when energy use soars. It is the final forecast from the consultancy before regulator Ofgem announces the new energy price cap on Friday, which will come into effect on October the 1st and last until the end of the year. You're watching Business Edge, coming to you live from New Central Studio in Lagos. We're going to stay in West Africa after this break and look at the human face, the people who are behind the struggles that Ghana's economy is having. Stay with us. Now, it's easy for economists, policy analysts, and government officials to get caught up in the numbers game, especially now when inflation is in the headlines every day. And for West Africa's second largest economy, the numbers are worrying. The cost of food and services has more than doubled in Ghana as inflation hit 31.7% annually in July, its highest since late 2003. Consumers and business people say they are being pushed out of business as the local currency continues to lose its value against the US dollar. The Cedi is now the second worst performing currency globally. But behind all these figures and numbers are real people, households, business owners, consumers, and everyday people who have to make these numbers work for them. And some are finding out that the numbers just aren't making sense. And every week, starting now, Business Edge will be speaking to people across the continent who are feeling the impact of their economy's struggles and challenges. And today, we start in Ghana. I have Cedi Adupong, who founded M.E.A Foods in 2006, joining me. Her company now has more than 32 products on the market. Cedi, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So it's really easy to get lost in the numbers. It's easy to, even though it's what I do every day, to talk to the policy analysts, the economists, and forget about the fact that there are real people behind the facts and the figures we hear every day. And those numbers have real life consequences. So let's start with your business. You've been in business for a number of years now, expanded with just a few products to now 32 products on the market. Let's talk about inflation. How has that affected your business?
Thank you again for having me. Inflation has been hard on us, very, very hard. You know, just before we got into this crisis was COVID. And during COVID, we had to try our best to keep our employees at work so that they don't go to the house empty-handed and now try to look for food to eat and feed their families. So we barely broke even in 2022 and in 2020. And then 2021, we worked very hard to bring things up a little bit. And just when we were trying to, step up again, there comes inflation. And it has been blamed on so many things. And I feel like the numbers that are being put out there is not the real numbers that is on the ground. Take, for example, I buy cashew. I buy cashew from Ghana, from Burkina Faso, and from Cote d'Ivoire. All these people who supply us cashews, for instance, supply using the dollar rates for the exchange rates that we use. Just 2 weeks ago, I bought cashew for 65 cedis per kilo, right? And then I had a huge order of about 70,000 Ghana cedis. So I had to do that quickly and then get more. After I did the supply and I went to get more, price had moved from 65 to 93 per kilo. And I sold the cashew for 85 cedis per kilo. What does this mean? It means that I need about 8,000 cedis more before I can buy a new one. I'm not even breaking even.
So are you passing, it's a difficult place to be. Are you passing that cost, that difference, and what is now a deficit for you onto your consumer? Are you putting that cost back into the product that is then going on the shelf or then going to retailers or wholesalers or who the people you work with are?
Yes, I work with retailers. I only do bulk distribution. So I work with retailers and definitely it has to go to them. But what it is that every time you sell and you have to buy a new raw material, you need more money to top up. Even when you increase, like now, I'm not sure what next to expect next week or next 2 weeks. Because even though I'm going to increase now and pass it on to the retailer and from the retailer to the customer, what it means is that the difference or the increase in price is going to be so much that the customer is going to have this shock. Yeah. And so instead of maybe buying two, they reduce it to buying one. So sales is going down. And by the time you are done to buy new raw materials, you need more money to also top up and buy.
And so we're talking money now, we're talking currency, and we've seen the Cedi slide since January. And I know that definitely also has to have almost a slightly different impact on your business as well. So given the fact that the Cedi is losing so much value against the US dollar, how has that affected you?
It has affected business greatly because like I initially, people are gradually losing their purchasing power. If they could buy three, now everybody is trying to manage what they take in. So they will buy either two or one. So it has really affected everything. It has affected fuel prices. Weekly fuel bill was about 3,000 cedis. Now it has gone up as high as 7,000 cedis. And even that, we have tried to, arrange our delivery and supplies. So if we have to take from Tema to say Oyarifa or Ebri, we have to make sure that every customer on that route is served in that day. And if they are not taking it, it means that the next day or the next 2 days, if they call and say, we still want this from you, we will not be able to send it because it will not make economical sense to drive a car from here to Oyarifa or beyond to supply just one person. So it means that they have to wait till the next week before we can supply. It has affected everything.
So let's talk about the people you work with directly who supply you your raw materials. You work with over 100 small hold farmers. About 70% of them are women who also help you with your farm produce. You also directly employ dozens and employ indirectly 100 or hundreds. I'm about to say 100. Hundreds, there it is. But when it comes to it, how are you seeing that Ghana's economic situation is affecting these people? Because as you talked about it now, from week to week, the price of the cashew you're buying is increasing. That's also because they're having difficulty at their end. So what do you see is affecting those who are also feeding your inputs for the final product?
Okay, I think they are also suffering from the fact that smallhold farmers normally do not have the capital to work and give you the raw materials, and then they give you credit, right? Most of these people we work with are people that we pay cash, so it is cash and carry. So I need a ton of cassava, I need a ton of this. I have to pay you directly before I can pick it up and go. But what it is now is that because I do not get the regular sales that I have, I am not able to come and buy, say, a ton from you. Last week, we called a farmer to bring in cassava, and we realized after he supplied us the cassava, we realized that most of it had gone almost bad because it's on the ground. We don't have enough market for it now to be able to order for more. And even if we do have the market for it, we do not have the cash to come and buy cash and carry. So we have to wait till our retailers that we supply to pay us before we are able to come and also buy from them cash and carry. And they keep calling and saying, Madam, are you not coming? We have this is ready, that is ready. But I do not have the cash because what it is that the people I work with, all the people that I supply my products to, are on credit basis, and it takes a very long time for them to be able to pay you. And that means that I'm not able to also go and buy from my suppliers. And the way things are now, it is not advisable to work with loans. Go to the bank, interest rate is high up there, and by the time you would want to pay, you have lost all the money. Because now sometimes you don't even break even when you have to buy a new raw material. You can't even break even. I've lost so much the last 2 weeks doing huge orders that I am not sure if I should still agree, because if I give you a pro forma now, I have put it down there that if you do not pay within 24 hours, then I'm sorry, the price doesn't fall again.
So yeah. In this aspect, what is it? Have you considered laying off, or have you laid off? Are you reducing wages to be able to keep people employed? What are you doing? And when you look at people around you in the same environments, are businesses shutting down and also laying off workers to either be able to stay in business or to keep a few more people employed?
I won't lay people off for now. Every day I come in, they're asking, are we going to get a little increase? Because it's tough on everybody. Sometimes I even imagine how they are surviving on the little that we give them. Because price of oil, for instance, have moved from 170 cedis to 480 or 500 cedis. That's about 300% increase. So if you lay the person off, it means you are telling the person to go home and die. You just have to manage them small. But in this situation, what they actually needed was an increase in salaries. And if you are not going to increase, I think the best thing you can do for them is to hold on till things get better. So we are not laying them off, but it is unfortunate that we won't be able to give them a little bit more or increase their salaries for them to survive in this current business. And for those who cannot hold on and take what we have, we can afford to give them, I think that they would have to find their way out by themselves.
All right. Charity, before I let you go, if the situation continues like this, we know that Ghana is in conversation with the IMF. Ghana is also in conversation with AfriExim to put some money into the economy that will at least create some breathing room. But all of that translates for the average consumer, for the business owner like yourself. If this situation with inflation and the currency depreciation is to continue, what do you think would happen to your business? What would it mean for your business?
Well, I pray that whatever the government needs to do or wants to do would be a solution to the crisis that we find ourselves now. I am not a financial analyst, so I cannot say much about what's going to happen next. But I pray and I hope that the government will do its best in the best of it knowledge to rescue the situation, especially with the IMF thing. If it comes in and we are going to be able to reduce the interest rate, the Cedi to dollar rate, that would be a great relief to us as business people and to everybody else that we work with. But as to how it's going to be done, I have no idea, and I just pray that they get it done rightly and also regulate how the dollar is being used in our country. You know, I think everywhere you go, you can get it from anywhere. And the last time I went out to the Marina Mall, I saw a long queue of people, and I just asked them, what's going on here? And they said they are in queue to change their monies into dollar. What is happening now is that people are not ready to invest in business. They are not ready to invest in any financial security products. All the people are doing is changing their monies into dollars. And that is a very risky situation we find. So I think that what the government can also do is to regulate how the dollar is used in our country to also minimize people, because people are just not investing in business. Okay. People have money, but they are not investing in business. They are just buying dollars to keep.
All right, Charity Adupong, thank you so much for your time. It's best to hear from those who are really affected by these issues that we talk about every day, and we really do hope you and your business and your employees can survive these trying times, and we'll check in with you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
And again, as I said, we can sometimes forget that there are real people behind the numbers, the facts, and the figures on the business conversations, and real households, consumers, and business owners who are affected. You're watching Business Edge. We keep the conversation going. And in Southern Africa, Zimbabwe is on the verge of completing its adoption of central bank digital currencies. That conversation is coming up before we wrap things up.